tournaments. Stream cheating is against the rules, but that's why everyone has to have a 2-minute delay, which has been standard in Starcraft for a decade. And that's kind of the only thing you can do. Best of 5 qualifying match in the bottom right as the blue Zerg for Cosmos Esports. He is SortOf. In the top left, I don't know much about this guy. He is Battle B, or just Battle. He's a red Terran, and he's on clan Blue Flame Esports. I know someone else who's been on this clan, but I don't remember who. Anywho. I don't know much about Battle at all. I had no idea he was Terran. Don't know his playstyle. I will say that as far as up-and-coming Terrans, you know, guys in GM, pushing up against those semi-pros and full-time pros, like, it feels like almost all Terrans rise up through their TvZ. Even when it's not their best matchup, it still feels like an okay matchup. Whereas so TVP, sometimes if it's not your best matchup, it feels totally, utterly hopeless, and TVT just feels like a crapshoot. So I'd say this is the best chance for Battle B, you know, best chance he has possible, but I really don't know. I'm completely talking on my ass for that one, just a guess. We're all looking at SortOf. We're all recognizing SortOf's name. We all think SortOf should be able to make it through to the main event. But it is the third qualifier. He has yet to do it, with the other 2 qualifiers providing 8 qualification spots each. 16 players have already gone through, and SortOf was not a part of that. That's a little bit scary. And only 4 from today. But at least he is now in that 1 of 4 qualifying matches. So things are looking good for SortOf as he goes up against a relative no-name. But that can sometimes be tricky. Sometimes these guys we don't know come up in a bracket because the bracket was easier for them. Let's be real, let's be honest, that happens. But sometimes it's because they actually are pretty good, and they have a lot of snipe potential, and they have either a particular style that is surprising, cheesy, all-in-y, whatever, or they actually are very clean. So, you know, the Zerg player goes, oh, his attack won't be that frightening, and then suddenly, boom! Super well-timed 2-base attack. Which one are we going to see today? So far, Battle going for a typical 1-1-1 build is not particularly cheesy, but we still have to see if there's a fusion core or an armory or what have you on the way. SortOf has stumbled a little bit in these qualifiers. It hasn't been super easy for him. But TvZ being, you know, one of the more mechanically consistent matchups, I guess that's what you could call it. Not a whole lot of surprises usually happen in this matchup. I would say that SortOf should be the favorite to win. Mr. Mechanics and the mechanical matchup, you know? Woo! Got the creep tumor. Lost the Reaper. I don't know if it's quite worth it, but it's not the worst trade that could have happened. SortOf, I guess maybe not really knowing much of Battle, is going for an Overlord speed build, which I think makes a lot of sense. I am assuming that SortOf doesn't really know the guy. That if, you know, SortOf's been back in Europe, they've been playing on the European ladder, but even so, I think SortOf might have a higher MMR than this guy. I don't know. Again, just completely guessing. So if you don't know someone, aside from a few ladder games, or aside from asking someone, I guess, you know, what do they like? Like, you're going to want to get Overlord speed, you want to get the Overlord scout, and whatever drawback there is, the resources that you have to commit to that would otherwise damage a defense against an innovation push, probably won't actually hamper you that much against this guy. Overlord speed gets in to see no stim researching. And so now you either think, is he bad? Or is this a fake? I was throwing out the bad suggestion because honestly that happens. Anyone who plays Starcraft has played against a guy and you're like, this doesn't make any sense, this guy's bad, and then they actually are doing something that makes a little bit of sense. But this stim was actually later than it usually is. He is going for bio. He is going for stim. But delaying it so the Overlord doesn't see it seems a bit risky, because that was felt like a pretty big delay on stim. Well, anyways. Nothing fancier than the Liberator and the Hellions. Sword does not have to worry about getting killed by a surprise double battlecruiser build. Surprise Hellbats. Although he has played a rather defensive, conservative game, Bailiness was very well timed to defend against some of the earlier shenanigans, and obviously the Overlord speed was a very safe call. Why not? As long as you're paying attention. Hellions on the left side. Liberator could re-siege on the right, but so far not a whole lot of damage has been done. It is a lot more about their macro right now. A lot more about how tight is Battle's build. Already seeing a couple of slip-ups, having to call down supply there. Sim a little bit later, so combat shields won't quite match up with 1-1 for the 2 tank push. Very, very slight problems. Hellions partially surrounded. Queen's coming in from the bottom. We're going to be able to get some of the kills. Hopefully, maybe. Yeah, okay, they'll end it dead. Hellions are dead. No Hellbats alongside the push. No run by later on. You could argue that they've done their job. 3rd CC's down location. It's safe now, but the ideal is that you actually want to keep those Hellions. They are far better later than they were just there. That's kind of a fact. So as I said, combat shield's a little bit later than 1-1, because I think the stim was delayed. But not really going for a push, just the simple 2 medevac drop to start things off. Armory going down means we are going to see a 4th CC as well, eventually, but Armory is a little bit late. Perhaps nerves are at play. Or perhaps he's been playing nothing but TVPs and TVT, so he's kind of like getting familiar again with TvZ. I'm gonna actually check the bracket of this guy. Banelings aren't gonna have the quickest of speed, but they don't really need that quick of speed. There's a large number of upgraded lings that are helping to support them. I don't know where the drones went down, but a couple of them did. To the Liberator, I assume. That probably died. Let's check out the bracket progression of Battle B for a second. So, okay, no, Battle B actually, he faced Blue, and then D-Dan, I don't know anything about D-Dan, and then Damaga. Battle B 2-0 Damaga. Now, Damaga is, you know, if this was 2012, is a pretty considerable name, but now we don't really consider him even that much of a pro, more of a semi-pro. But hey, it was TvZ. The most, it gives us the most information about Battle that we've had so far. Marines getting caught by a couple of Lings, but Lings ultimately pushed back. It's 4 SCVs. Where is the 4th CC? 2-2-1. Drilling Claws, 2nd Factory, all our priority are fine, but a 4th CC should be coming down. Sort of went for really fast upgrades. So as I said, didn't have the fastest Baneling speed, but now it's done. And didn't have the fastest mutas, but now they're on the way. Oh, I'm sorry. That actually was not the 2nd Factory. He just swapped, he never swapped off of the tech lab. There you go. So there's the 2nd Factory, and there's the 4th Command Center. Battle still has a decent army supply. This push ain't bad. But it's not the most amazing either. Sort of did mess up his own upgrades. Speaking of mistakes, +2 carapace did not start with +2 melee did, so he should have had a slight upgrade lead. As it is, sort of is going to be a little vulnerable. Run by does not work out. Good there by Battle B. Good split from Battle B as well. And with that tank, oh my god, the one of mine almost killed the tank. Are you kidding me? With the tanks over here, it'd be lovely to just get a wrap run on these few pesky little Marines, but every time he goes after them, he gets shot by the tanks. This is a very good position for the Terran. I mean, despite the mistakes here or there, you know, things that you only really look at when not much else is going on, because these are pretty macro-oriented openers, Battle has actually had some pretty good macro. And with sort of slip-up of the +2 carapace, he now has an upgrade lead with 2-2 finishing, despite the slightly later armory. So some nice play, very abusive position as well. Tank's gonna shoot at the Queens. Not their best shots possible. We're gonna redirect to the Banelings now. Battle had not been reinforcing this point, so it makes sense that it was eventually cleaned up. He wasn't reinforcing because the left side is where the rest of the army was. It does show up on top of a 5th base. It has to be careful. Only a single tank to help out, not a whole lot of Widow Mines. This is going to be maybe the weakest point of his army, is when that splash unit number isn't very high. He should actually just evacuate. He's probably sticking around here. He picked up one medevac, which I liked, but he also should have just skedaddled as fast as possible with the rest of it. A couple of Marines in the 3rd and a couple of Marines in the natural, but a Spore Crawler plus Queen can actually take care of that, and that's going to completely stop Battle's momentum. He has gone all the way back home. Now down 30 supply with the 4th base only just turning into a planetary. SortOf should be feeling very confident. His left side base might have got taken down, but he had a huge bank, so he's triple expanding, and his creep spread on the left side is still looking pretty good. Little weak on the right side, but if he can just give that up, that's fine. Which is something he can do. Thank you, Starlord Shelter, for the 12-month resub. Oh, no. Oh, no. Widow Mines burrow as quick as they can, but... Oh, wow. Thanks, Widow Mines. Thanks. That was really awesome. It's really cool you killed all those Marines instead of any amount of Lings or Banelings. Jokes aside, Battle was completely surprised by the influx of Zerg units, so he had no time to burrow them preemptively. He had no time to redirect their fire. That was a catastrophe, as Battle now down to sub 140 supply and SortOf still maxed out. Gonna go for the gold, gonna go for the win, gonna go for the planetary, and probably be able to grab it at the sacrifice of many, many Banelings, but with the situation as it is, he can afford to do so. SortOf now has 3 extra bases mining with 84 drones, up to a hive, +2 flyer attack, and 13 more mutas on the way. That number of mutas is the real FU muta number. Total of 31 mutas with +2. Magic box all your Thors, swoop in for a single second, kill your starport, kill your factory, then get out. It's a very obnoxious amount. Barely avoids the Widow Mine too, so... Still keeping a lot of them alive. Gonna pounce on it now to take it out before it fires. A bunker might be a little too much to go after with the Marines already responding, but Battle knows he's in a bad position as he lifts his main base to replace his 4th. He has maybe gotten an okay economy with Triple Mule still being slapped down, but he's got nothing happening in this game. Okay, a drop, but that's going to get cleaned up, so nothing happening in this game. One last hurrah. As the army supplies do look quite similar, since SortOf has so many drones, this doesn't seem like a bad option, especially with 3-3 finishing, but 3-3 isn't done. Oh, and he splits backwards into more Banelings, SortOf. He didn't even really need this around, to be honest. He was already going to take a good enough fight, far away from his bases, but then he also surrounded the guy. And that's kind of it. The Terran player knows that it's game over. Just wanted one last push with 3-3. Now 3-3 finally done. Maybe you try again, but geez Louise. You don't win this game as a Terran. You don't. There's the actual true last hurrah. Battle does not want to tap out of this game. 30 mutas, 28 mutas coming forward, killing the Thor, killing everything else. Widow Mines not even getting particularly great shots. Hello? Splits have been pretty good. Just overpowered. GG. SortOf not looking weak at all to Battle. Not at all. Battle, I mean, he got to decent situations with the position he was in on the right side. That was fair. With his 2-2 being faster than his opponent, that's fair.
Resubscription received. Apparently you
he definitely isn't top form Terran. There were noticeable delays on some very important upgrades. I think that style of play he chose to go for also probably should have been a faster 4th. But while that, he was able to spend his money totally fine, and he eventually got into the groove and was just producing and upgrading and all that good stuff. It just took a little while. The beginning actually wasn't the best opener for a Terran I've ever seen, whereas SortOf, as I said, he made that sacrifice of getting the Overlord speed, but that was kind of the only thing that really messed up his build. Otherwise, trying to go for the double upgraded Lings is, it is a thing, and it was done well. The execution was there. Thank you, SharkDog58, for the 24-month resub. It looks like SortOf might just now be guaranteed into the qualifiers. A little bit questionable with all the names he had to go up against. Who was that one guy that could knock him out? Kaj got kind of close to it, but still got defeated 2-1. And now, after that first game, I feel very confident in SortOf's ability to win. Battle's gonna have to shape up, tighten things up, and apply a bit more pressure to actually win this TvZ. On the Ice and Chrome, we might see something different, like Mech. It's mostly popular, the most popular map for it. But I have no idea what this guy has in his build order playbook. No idea. In the top right, it is Battle, is the Green Terran. In the bottom left, Blue Zerg is SortOf. Being very cautious. Again, probably going to go for Overlord speed, but first, check for those 2 Raxes. Drone on the hunt. Not going to find anything. But is doing a very thorough job of checking around. I think at this point it has checked literally every 2 Rax potential. Because the Overlord scouted the other 2 Rax potential. I don't see too many 2 Raxes that start here, but I guess that's also available, so SortOf's even gonna check that. Wow, this drone is not skipping his scouting. He is doing as he is told. And just a regular 1 Rax expand back at home. Any other matches shaped up on the bracket quite yet? Poppy Joe versus King Cobra ends up being that last qualifier. Gyarados versus Rail actually is the last qualifier. So everything's a qualifying match now, so this is going to be our last best of on this stream. I believe the rest of the matches are on a variety of streams. There's a whole lot of them if you check Team Liquid's sidebar. Maybe more well-matched than this one, but I don't want to actually paint such a complete picture of Battle's ability with just one game. It could have been nerves. It could have been just one of those games. Those are kind of both the options. But, you know, I'm going to be very, very critical of the build this time around, because if it's the same exact issues, then you're probably going to expect the same exact issues. You know what I'm saying? The same exact problem. Not being able to beat SortOf. SortOf, oh, I'm gonna go for a Roach Warren. Ooh, okay, not even gonna let this guy show us his macro again. Has delayed his 3rd hatch and has added on a Roach Warren instead in the main base. I mean, Battle, the dynamic would usually be that Battle thinks, okay, I'm kind of the underdog here, so I'm gonna take an option, either being super greedy or very all-in. He has so far not shown any all-ins. And usually SortOf being the guy who's saying, okay, I guess I'm the better player, I don't have to do anything too weird, would just play macro too. Well, SortOf is like, you know what? I'm the better guy, and I'm gonna go ahead and just hopefully bop you. Or at the very least, get some damage done and an overreaction. It can happen. Battle might be going for a 3cc build, the kind of greed cheese, if you will, and SortOf's like, you're not gonna get away with that. But in this case, he Battle is once again going for kind of a middle-of-the-road build. Not a third CC, nor is it into Banshees and Battle Cruisers, right? Very light emphasis on that starport. Just light enough that the Roaches can do some serious damage. Roaches are now revealed to the Hellions. 4 Hellions at home might help a Ling Flood if it was that type of all-in, but it's not. It is just the Roaches looking for some damage. So Battle, if he had already been in building Banshees, this absolutely does nothing for SortOf. But without Banshees, it is a little bit testy. It's a little bit suspicious. Plus, he can't really confirm that it's not the Lings following this up, so he has to take this very, very seriously. Bunker's coming down. Marauder on the way. Roach is going to go ahead and stop that supply depot being raised. Cheeky. The Hellions want to retreat back and help at least provide some extra damage, but already letting the Roaches into the base is a bit of a mistake. Corrosive Bile is going to help take care of that bunker, but SortOf is only looking for bits and pieces here. If he could just grab the third CC, that would be fantastic. If he could delay it, that's also pretty good, and he already is delaying it. And behind it, of course, is grabbing the drones and evolution chambers, and army is still going down too. The Hellions not going to be remade in this game because Battle is going into Sim and onto bigger, better things like barracks. Command Center's not going to be canceled is the good news. That is the good news. But Marauders had to be made. Not really worthwhile in the early game unless you're being attacked like this. Command Center still isn't done, so that's also going to be more supply block potential in the future, with supply depots also going down. And even the Marauders aren't going to win this fight. Not only has this done damage, it's also taken forever to clean up, so that's really bad news for Battle. It's sometimes even better to pull the SCVs and just get it over and done with than it is to just, you know, barely not push it back every single time. This is a great start for SortOf. Doesn't straight up win the game, but gets himself a very good start. Fully saturated on 3 bases. Could slap down a 4th base. Lair, 6-minute lair, that's fine. Once again, priority on those upgrades, which are slightly faster than Battle's. Looks like Battle Sim Combat Shield's a little bit more well-timed. Or is 1 was later, either one. And is going to be playing a very similar game to last, just at a disadvantage. Down 13 workers, only just sending his 3rd CC over, and you gotta be careful when you do this, because your Hellions have died, your Marauders even died. If there were 20 Lings coming across the map right now, there's not much Battle could do about that. But SortOf, not gonna do that, not sending any units across the map. He was prioritizing a lot of drones, and his 4th base. Adding in more Roaches, gonna be going for Ling, Baneling, Ravager. Instead of completely swapping over into Ling, Baneling, Muta. Battle would want to do some drops. Leave his tanks at home, do some drops, try and get something done. I said he wasn't going to Muta, but then he slaps on a Spire. So this should be the last Roaches he makes. And without Roach speed, they're probably all going to turn into Ravagers at some point. Overseer checking what type of build it is in the main. It is bio. It is still on tank production. Is there a fast 4th CC? Are there 3 more barracks? He sees neither one, but without 3 more barracks, I think he's going to assume it's going to be an eventual 4th CC. Oh. Hey, the barracks are over here. Hey, hey. If Battle's going to go for an 8 racks all in, which kind of seems to be his plan here, I don't know. I feel it's such a momentum-based attack. It's like the first wave's got to do some serious control, cleanup, and then the second and third wave has got to actually continuously pressure the Zerg. The fact that he already, in my eyes, has like lost momentum because of the opener, I don't feel so good about his 8 racks. But that is exactly what SortOf would be looking for, and funnily enough, can't find it.
Complete. Command unacceptable.
Sees 1 extra barracks, but yeah. He doesn't see a second factory, which I guess also tells that it's an 8 racks. Bit of a Liberator problem in the 3rd base. Not anymore. Actually, this is the 4th, and this is the 5th, so... Oof. he loses one of these bases, he will lose the other. Question is, does he lose a base? I don't know about that. I don't know. Queens coming forward are going to awkwardly find... Ooh, the Muta's awkwardly find the Marines. Both units awkwardly finding this push. Sort of... One big mistake was not scouting this push coming. Very big mistake. He gets no Corrosive Biles to buy time. His Ravager's only just finished, but it is a pretty powerful army here from the Zerg. Corrosive Biles on top of the tanks. Going to get 2 for 1. Not quite. They got 2 tanks, but maybe could have gotten a third. Lots of Marines still left over. Muta count has been reduced thanks to their flying over the Marines, but maybe the Marines is a bit too deep on a creep. Not going to survive against the Ravager and Banelings on the left side. But more reinforcements coming through. That's the power of the 8 racks, just continuously throwing Marines and bodies at your opponent. But the not nice thing about the 8 racks is that it kind of hopes to overwhelm, catch the player only with Ling Baneling Muta. Units that are vulnerable to a pack of Marines. Roaches and Ravagers are a bit of a different story. Like, the Ling Baneling is still the best thing to have against this, for sure. But the Roaches and Ravagers, it's not as much of a snowball. If there's 8 Marines left over, the Ravagers will probably still be able to work against those. If there's 8 Marines left over, and 20 Lings come in single file, the 8 Marines actually do a pretty good job. So it's like, sort of has this, like, backbone to his army that he can kind of rely on should he over-commit at any given point with his Ling Baneling. And he also has a, second option to taking out those tanks. Or a third option, if you will. He's got, maybe a couple of Mutas to try and take out a tank. He's got Lings coming from the backside, try and jump on top of a tank. And he has Corrosive Biles to try and take out a tank. But regardless of composition, I still say that it's just the start of this game was just kind of bad for Battle. Big Ling run by can be a risky move for the Zerg player to try and do against this, but I think in this case it's going to work out really, really well. Liberator goes down as a Queen also goes down, but I think they prefer to have a Liberator. Queen's okay to have, not great. Ling run by now turning into a third CC. Killing run by, boom, gone. And Battle was already pretty all in, but now super all in. Here come the Banelings. Mostly off of creep as Battle pulls back and sort of is not going to make the mistake of chasing Marines off of creep. Even with the Ravagers to kind of rely on a little bit more. There's no reason to take risky plays here, honestly. You can just wait and outlast the push. Even if he loses 23 drones in a 4th base, he still has another hatchery up and the ability to remake those drones. Whereas Battle cannot remake his economy. Battle not getting up yet, still only down 10 army supply, but about to be even further down on those upgrades. Baneling's trying to crash into the Marines. Good split. He showed us he could do good splits last game. He just needs more than good splits. Those Ravagers going to help out to take the last few Marines down, ideally. Here comes some Lings as well. And there we go. The last fight, it looks kind of even. Battle is at only 20 supply less than his opponents. But as he scans the top left to say, okay, am I screwed, he's not really reading the situation correctly. I mean, he does know about this base, so maybe he is. Maybe I would have figured if he knew they had a 5th base somewhere, he'd tap out, but I guess he was checking for a 6th base. And seeing no 6th base, he says, maybe I got a shot, but you would if there was a 3rd CC. I mean, I've been against Battle this entire time, just because of the opener. But honestly, if there's a 3rd CC still alive, and he was still on 47 workers, this is actually a very, very close game. It's just that he lost the 3rd CC. So as close as the army fights continue to be, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Sort of is seemingly struggling against the last few remnants of the build, though. Finally, there we go. Finally takes it out. GG. Sort of will take the 2-0 and get closer to qualifying for DreamHack Fall. Potentially, the last map's gonna be an Eternal Empire. Potentially. Battle showing some diversity. Goes for a bit more macro build in the first game, and then an 8-rack all in the second game. Here we are, last map of the day, of the series, of the qualifier. Maybe, if this guy in the bottom left up 2-0 can take this map, it'll be done. That guy is SortOf. In the top right, the red Terran, he is Battle. And it's still pretty cool that he's gotten this far. Many people, myself included, have not heard of him or cast him or seen him. Now we have. And while it's not like, you know, the most impressive thing, he's not getting really a chance to shine because he's up against a real true veteran of Starcraft 2, a guy who's never really been ever bad at this game. I think that is something we should remember. Like, okay, we can all be like, Battle didn't really have a chance here. Because maybe he doesn't. Maybe he also loses this game and it's really one-sided. But I don't think you can say that he's been playing super poorly. Like, clearly he got here off the back of a couple of TvZs, too, against likes of Damaga, by the way, who is actually casting this now. But, it's just that, against SortOf, that's the real test. And, unfortunately, it's not going so well. I feel like this is the point of the test where, like, you flip through all the pages because you couldn't answer the first question, so you flip to the second page, and you're like, oh, I can't answer that question either, so you flip to the third page, and the third page, all the questions refer back to the first page, and you couldn't answer any of those, and you're like, oh my god, no, I'm gonna die, oh, Jesus. I feel like that's kind of the point that Battle might be at. Maybe a little less stressful, honestly. Because for him, I mean, as cool as it would be to qualify, I'm not sure he's really anticipating qualifying. Not just because he's up against SortOf right now, but just because he's not really gotten so close to it before, as far as I know. So it's, you know, more like it's baby steps, right? He goes from being a round of 64 guy to a round of 32 guy to a round of 16 guy to a qualifying match guy, and isn't quite at that point where he's going to actually qualify. So be it. It's all about taking steps, right? Triple Command Center. So, I do like the variety. If you're not much of a mech player, then so be it. Mech has kind of died for a lot of people. But there's still a lot of variety to be shown in the bio builds. And the third CC was kind of the one that's been waiting. That and the 2-racks, right? So it's like both sides of the extremes. In this case, the greedy macro, greedy extreme. So I like seeing that. And SortOf, yeah, he might be trying to take advantage of it by going for an early push. He's actually going to go for an early lair. So he might be thinking it's more about the battlecruiser build, which is also, I mean, honestly, it's kind of fallen off. It still certainly happens, but at one point it was literally the only thing people were doing, and then it stopped. And then it went back to being the only thing people were doing, and then it stopped. So it happens commonly enough. I mean, hell, on this map, Innovation got fucking bopped by it. He went for battlecruiser against someone who went for a fast muta build. Only, just a couple weeks ago. In Team League. Pains me. So he could be trying to counter that, but in general also going for a different build, sort of is going to mix it up and apply some, well, let's say a tech-based pressure. Theoretically, especially if Battle gets like a hint of this and seeing a later third hatch, he might already be like, wait a second, I want to dig into the main to see a lair, so... I think once you start getting rid of the all-in options, if it's not a Nidus Room for Roaches and it is a Spire, you know it's a Spire, and you just really, you do a very clean version of this build. You only go for 2 Hellions, he went for 4, but hey, not 6, right? So a bit faster into the barracks. You start off that stim as fast as possible. If you do a very clean version of this build, you are going to have enough Marines to combat those mutas no problem, and you're still going to be able to do your push. So, sort of not really getting any benefit from his opener here, I would say. Needs to worry about getting creep spread out and getting centrifugal hooks on the way. As I think there will be a fairly strong attack on his 4th in a couple of minutes. I don't actually think his mutas will do a lot. Maybe his mutas don't have to do a lot. I know there are 4 Hellions, but where are they? Hello? 4 Hellions? Where are the other 2? We're at the 3rd. Oh, 4 Hellions is the really... It's like the critical amount to stop Ling run-bys, honestly. 2, a little too dangerous. 6, in this case, would be overkill. 4 would have been absolutely perfect. Ah. It sucks. It only kills 2 SUVs, so it still sucks, but like, it's not the biggest of deals. 3rd CC lands and sort of now starts up his mutas. 5 to start off with. Bailing Nest will also be starting up bailing speed fairly soon. I think he had a bit of a larva problem. There we go. 8 mutas. There we go. There we go. 9 mutas. 1-1 starts up for Battle. He's going to have faster upgrades. He's going to take very little damage, I think, from the initial amount of mutas anyways, because he knows they're on the way. And he's going to be able to do his push as long as he tracks his tanks correctly. He doesn't let them get picked off. So that sometimes means picking up your tanks, actually. Getting over there as fast as possible. But that's what I would really like to see. And then it's a real struggle for the Zerg player to properly defend this 4th against that type of push. Will it be a struggle or not? Does sort of start the ball rolling with the mutas. Does he get a good Ling run by? So far, just going for a refinery. It's something, right? Doesn't quite get it. Has a Ling run by set up. He would love to buy some time, get a cheeky tank kill. That'd be amazing. Tanks are pretty well protected. They got each other's backs. They're bros. But honestly, I would like for Battle to push with this 1-1 combat shield. So maybe 3 tank push? Kind of let the engine, or let the missile turrets deal with the mutas. Maybe at the cost of a couple SCVs' lives, but if he doesn't push, then the whole dynamic of their openers is going to matter less and less as time goes on. And what's going to happen is that sort of might still have later upgrades, because you can't really catch up on those, no chrono boost here. He's still going to have like this option of a lot of creep spread, a ton of mutas, or a ton of banelings, either one, and map control. Battle is just playing defensive, and that's a bit unfortunate. I think there are pushes that could be done against this on this 4th base that have killed Zergs, as good as Raynor and Serral, and yeah, sort of course, but you know, killing Raynor and Serral is a little bit more of a of an accolade. Anyways, there is a push that can do that, and a relentless aggression that can happen from a Terran who is this well set up. But it's not like it's a guarantee, and it does require quite a bit of control. Not just of the units you're attacking with, but also the ability to go back home and look at your army and protect your SCVs, and look at your army and then go back home and protect your SCVs. Like, the easier option is to defend to 2-2 and do a big 2-2 push, which apparently is the option for Battle here. You can play Macro Gang, you can force CC, but 2-2 push with a maxed out army, Thors, Widowmine, Drilling Claws included. That is still a scary push. But sort of doesn't have to worry so much about that time where you only have mutas, really. And that is mostly what you're with. Very few banelings and very few lings. You're still getting up your economy. That time is actually gone. It's now sort of on 77 drones, 5 bases, plenty of creep spread. And his mute account is getting to that very frightening amounts of 22. Basically above 20, above 15 is really the frightening amount. That can jump on top of a missile turret, jump on top of a mineral line, and instantly knock out 10, 20 SCVs. So, SortOf's going to be able to take control of the actual push. Battle is all about the defense right now. SortOf can try and buy as much time as possible. Unknowingly grabs +2 attack, but that is the ideal upgrade to grab. Letting that engineer bay die was a huge mistake from Battle. Maybe he was focusing on a drop that didn't do very much anyways, but that was a huge mistake. Grabbing his 4th base as 2-2 finishes, we might not even be seeing a 2-2 push. If he's gonna do the push, I mean, it's gonna be really awkward. He's coming in from about as far away as possible, all the way from 12 o'clock of this map, all the way down to, you know, what, a 12 o'clock base, or a 6 o'clock base, sorry. And that's a long distance. Feels like the worst setup he could have done. We're gonna see what the maxed armies do to each other, though. SortOf didn't buy too much extra time with his mutas, just that Battle had to go across maps, so that did buy some extra time for his 2-2 to finish, but SortOf isn't quite done yet. And he's not even going to try and engage in this. He's going to go for the run-by. That 3rd base, completely undefended. Everything was on the other side of the map. It's a bit of a base trade, but base trade's pretty bad for Terran. They have to go on to creep for this. And they're in a hurry, so there's not much splitting to be involved, not much sieging of the tanks to be involved. This generally goes better for the Zerg, but SortOf is really biding his time. He's going to wait until he has as many Banelings as possible, and then even then use them correctly to try and not get bopped by a Widow Mine. Banelings are finishing up, but there are so many Marines that they might not actually finish up. They've got to come through. Okay, some of them finish up, and they do crash into the Marines. Battle losing control of this side of the map. Has also lost control of it back at home. SortOf could have met the army head-on, or he could have done a huge run-by. In this case, the huge run-by worked really well, and Battle does not really get to show us the best TvZs. GG. As SortOf just a little bit too good. 3-0 to qualify in the last qualifier possible. All that matters is you did qualify. And got some cash off of it too in this qualifier, so that's always nice.